The situation with Russia, the apparent international standoff with Iran over its nuclear proposals, the visit of American President George Bush to the Middle East, all addressed in the House of Commons yesterday during a question session with the Foreign Secretary and his Foreign Office ministers. First, Russia and its threat to close down British Council offices there.
The independence of the British Council is something that is asserted on all sides of the House. Certainly it's not a political football from our point of view. And our message to the Russian government, I think, is that they shouldn't use the British Council as a political football either. And I hope that that can be a united message that goes out, because 1.25 million Russians benefited from the activities of the British Council last year, and that's something that must be in both of our countries' interests.
A point he repeated under further questioning.
The first thing to say is that while there was a threat issued on the 12th of December, it has not yet been carried out. And our first priority is to try to send a very clear message to the Russians that this is illegal and that there's nothing to be gained by them. In fact, there's everything to be lost, both in terms of the services for Russian people and the reputation of Russia around the world in carrying out this threat. And certainly my conversations with European and other G8 colleagues suggest that there's unanimous incomprehension at the decision or the proposal of the Russian government to crack down on the British Council in this way. The duty of care that we have to our staff is obviously something that we take very seriously. And in respect to the British Council, obviously that's in the first instance a matter for the British Council staff management. But I can assure her that both at official level in Russia and ministerial level, we take the duty of care to both sets of staff extremely seriously.
The subject turned to Iraq and progress on the ground on reconstruction and rebuilding by the British.
There have been some very substantial achievements in and around Basra, and one has only to think of some of the projects that were run, for example, by the army down there. The huge new date plantations, 4,000 people employed there. The fact that when our rebuilding of parts of the electricity and water infrastructure finished very soon, there'll be electricity and water, additional electricity and drinking water for the first time for 1 million people. So there have been achievements. I think he's quite right, though, the Honourable Gentleman's quite right to raise the issue of the lack of preparedness after the invasion in terms of understanding what was required in rebuilding that country and indeed in offering people services that made a difference to their lives from those under the days of Saddam Hussein.
The Foreign Secretary was asked about international pressure on Iran over its enrichment programme.
I met yesterday with the Secretary-General of the IAEA, Dr. El-Baradei, and emphasised to him both the importance of his work and the urgency of taking it forward in respect of critical issues to do with contamination that remain to be answered by the government of Iran. In an unprecedented statement, European leaders at the European Council in December agreed the text of a very strong statement in respect of this issue, which made clear the readiness of the EU to move forward. Obviously, the EU track and the UN track are complementary, but I can absolutely assure him that there are intensive discussions going on the EU basis as well as on our UN track.
Dr. Howells was asked what he thought would be achieved by President Bush's visit to the Middle East.
What difference will it make? Well, I very much hope that it'll continue to focus the attention of the world on the need to inject far more work on the Middle East peace process. For too long, it's been a desultory process. The intensity that we've witnessed in the run-up to Annapolis and since is to be welcomed, I think, and with luck and with the energy of the Americans especially, we can start to see some real achievements made.
A busy session for the Foreign Office ministers across the international arena.